I would say that a positive thing for people who want to believe this theory is that they look at the change, the end product, and say this must have happened this way, but they never think about the very beginning of a product. You know, there are systems in the body, there are systems in nature that have to be all together for it to work right. And so they're not working right would not be an evolutionary advantage. So to be together, now everybody talks about the eye, and it's a pretty good example there. You can't just have half an eye. You can't just have a mutation that forms the eye socket. It's everything working together, including the connection to the brain, that causes the eye to work. So without any of the small parts, it wouldn't work. There'd be no evolutionary advantage. But go back a little bit more. Go back before there were eyes, and you ask yourself, why would you have an advantage of an eye? Why would that speck become an advantage to that creature? And how did that speck get there? How did it get put in? So there's no structure there. So there's a limitation to the idea that these systems happen by accident. Mathematically, logically, to a normal person, I think only a scientist would think they just magically appeared, like Disneyland. You know, happiest place on earth. You know, it's just like it's like not in reality. And so that it's called. It's kind of mathematically impossible for those things to just appear. Like, why would you have a liver? Why would a liver start out as a liver? How did it become something else and then a liver? It didn't start out as a liver. So it's like the A, B, and C, but they get A and C, but they don't do the B in their logic, and that's the interesting thing about science. Science for dummies. I want to bring up one idea. So kind of the reason why scientists beat the crap out of this evolution idea is because they can't consider an opposite idea. They can't consider other possibilities and look for those flaws. Now, all the flaws that I've come up with and shown you here, and there's 40 some more of them, but all these flaws to the theory of evolution are explained by another theory. Now, I don't want to get into the God thing, but God or intelligent designer or aliens, I'm not going to get into the whole UFO thing, but there's a couple of factors here that should be thought about. One, all the flaws in evolution are explained by an intelligent designer, whatever it is. Two, there's something else that's never talked about in science. And I've asked this question, and the answer I get is kind of stupid or foolish. But there are literally hundreds of thousands of references in our history to some sort of God or alien. Pretty much every culture has the idea of a divine being superior. There's a couple that aren't. But overwhelmingly, hundreds of thousands. Then you just start the last, 100 years, and there's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of references to non-human contact and non-human vehicles. So my point is that that's never thought about. That's never thought about that. Now, they disclude it because of the type of evidence it is. Yeah, and if you're a scientist, I guess you would disclude it. But if this is a philosophical, if this is a mathematical discussion, if all the errors on one side are explained by intelligent design, that becomes more likely. Now, when you look at the mathematics, the reason why the mathematics are bad on an intelligent designer is because of lack of knowledge. So the lack of knowledge is a factor. And if you take in this other idea, it actually has a lot more credulity to the idea, or credit to the idea, that there was an intelligent designer. Just a food for thought, just something to think about. I don't know why. So scientists say, well, it has to be observable and repeatable, but a lot of their stuff, a lot of their theories are not provable, not repeatable when it comes to evolution. They can't repeat it. They put chemicals for DNA and they put it in a jar and they shook it up, perfect conditions, perfect temperature, perfect everything. No life came from it. And even if they could put those little pairs together, it still implies an intelligent designer, because their brains and they're there. It's not in a mud-filled volcanic ash world. It's in a laboratory. So that implies an intelligent designer. And a lot of their explanations were actually better thought out and better explained by an intelligent designer. So in lack of a theory that doesn't have massive flaws like evolution, there's a theory that there's an intelligent designer. Has one flaw. God hasn't parked on the Washington Monument. Or the aliens haven't come down and landed. They've done everything else. They're saying that they're becoming more and more aggressive, according to a congressional hearing. They're becoming more and more aggressive and being more and more seen, whether that's because we have better instruments or because they're becoming bolder. They don't know. But you really should look at that hearing. It was rather interesting. So anyway, that's kind of the idea to sum this up, is if evolution is untrue because you can prove it extremely unlikely, then what's next? What's the next theory? And they can't, these ideas have been out there. That mathematics part of it have been known. and they still can't like solve those problems. No, thank you very much.